Hello, my name is Indigo Robinson, and I'm from the Miami Valley School. And for American Government and Speech class, we had to make a I think 5 to 7 minute video about what we thought was important or significant to ourselves in Unit 1 of our book that we're reading. It's called "We the People, the Citizen, and the Constitution." And so what I want to discuss right now is mostly it has to do with lesson 3 of the book. Um, Towards the end of the chapter, it talks about how there is this really important philosopher, and what he believed was that in order to form like a constitution or like a form of government, it has to be specific to the situation that the country's in, and like the geographic conditions, like where on the earth is this country, and how where they're at, like the climates, and there's certain things that they can grow to produce food, so the whole country can learn and live off of what the earth has to offer. So that's really important on what certain rules you have to write. And also, this important philosopher, he talked about how the best, I think, or in the text it says, the best government for any nation is one tailored to the unique circumstances of that nation. So the background that group of people had before they came to the Americas was really important to know and understand, because in the church, as they called it, it their religious stance, I guess to some people it wasn't fair, so that's why they moved to the Americas to find religious freedom. But you have to base something new that you have to make off of your previous experiences and the way of life that you had before you moved. So that was really important to consider when you're writing rights. Like, you have to make sure that the wording that you have for the Constitution is really acceptable to a large group of people, and it has to be fair to everyone. Well, the part of the Constitution that says freedom wasn't really, everyone wasn't really free. I mean, there were slaves, and that wasn't fair at all. But there's a different topic. Um, also, also, there were the American founders. They were in the time of the Age of Enlightenment, so there was still a lot that was still being learned, and new things that were coming up and being questioned. So that those ideas of, oh, this is something new that we can change to make our form of government better and more equal to everyone, and have it make sense so the country doesn't collapse and everyone there is a free for all. That's not good. So the Age of Enlightenment, that was a really big factor on the rules or the set of laws that were going to be made for the Constitution. And also, like I said earlier, the previous experiences that the founders had, and including like the philosophers Aristotle, Plato, and other philosophers similar to them, their knowledge, I guess, really impacted the founders' thinking. And so those two things combined, the previous knowledge of other philosophers and the previous knowledge of the founders, plus new ideas that were being thought of and questioned during the Age of Enlightenment, were two pretty much of the main factors of how the Constitution was made and written, and how it was going to be made. So those are really key factors. And also in the book, it says, I think it's the last page of chapter 3. The philosopher that I was talking about how he thought the best government um, was based on the circumstances of that nation. His name was, it's really hard to pronounce. It's really hard to pronounce. I had a lot of trouble with it. It's Montesquieu. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, he was the philosopher that I thought was, it was really interesting on his take of how a constitution should be formed, because I think that, I mean, it's really smart how he thought, oh, it's specific to a certain nation and their lifestyle, and how they how easy or hard for them to come together and have a fair ruler, and not people just running all over each other and just causing wars and feuds that really don't help the country at all. It could actually be a detriment to their success and how they live and become very successful. So yeah, I really liked him. Um, just his ideas. It's just it. It really makes sense, and it is true that, you know, based on where you are and your thoughts, they really do matter. Because, for example, if someone comes from a country where the ruler, it was a tyranny, and the ruler was not there at all, very rude, very greedy, and maybe even selfish, and they're trying to, I guess, form a new country with a group of people who think, oh yeah, it should be a monarchy, and there should be one. I mean, there should be, one ruler or a group of rulers, and it's really successful, and the rulers are fair and they're treated right. Well, if they come together and try to form a new government, it's not going to make sense, because there's people who come from unsuccessful single ruler backgrounds and people who come from successful single ruler backgrounds. It's going to be hard to come up with a consensus of what type of ruling should be a group of people, should it be let the all of the people decide what should be done, with like rules and um, laws that should be made or maybe even canceled out. Um, yeah, so I feel that the ruler Montesquieu, he had a really valid point, and throughout most of the book, I mean, I agreed with what was being discussed, but I think that philosopher really stood out to me. Just his morals and his ideas. I mean, like I said before, it made sense. So that's my view on government, and how it should be made in the philosophers. So, Indigo Robinson signing off, or whatever.